Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy's Ted.
And today we delve into deep magic, and this time we're going to be looking at runes.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
Alright, so deep magic, rune magic.
So Deep Magic is a series of PDFs that Kobold Press puts out, and each of them is supposed to offer magic in new and unique and interesting ways. Rune Magic talks about, well, as you would guess, runes.
So there's a bunch of new things in here. At first glance, there's nothing to me that is like, oh, I wouldn't allow this in my game. It's not like super, there's nothing super overpowered. The only thing I see is a little bit of creep. Which it's like when I look at things, it's like, well, how does this all kind of combine with what is already there? So most of this PDF though is wrapped around feats.
Well, it's feats that build into options. Now, when I look at this, like you can take the skilled feat, which gives you multiple skills, languages, tool proficiencies, however you want to break it down. Whereas in this, you can take rune knowledge, which gives you knowledge of 2 runes. Now, the way all of them work is you get a base power, and then as you level, you get rune powers. Each one is different. And it goes so much that you trace or carve or put the rune on something, someone, what have you, and an effect happens. It could be done in an action. It could be done in 2 actions, 4 actions, minutes, hours. Every one is different, and based on what that rune is, a different cool or unique thing goes out.
Yeah, most of them have level requirements, so generally, like, a human could take this at first level, but I'm not sure if any of them are worth taking at first level, because most of them you can't access the first power until 4th.
Right.
And then you might have some things beyond that. That being said, you can only invoke 1 power a day, so it doesn't really matter how many runes you have. You're still kind of limited in what you can do with it.
But you're always going to get access to your base rune power, and some of them offer languages, some of them offer skills, some of them offer advantages in like specific situations. So with this PDF, you're going to get the 2 feats, the ability to get rune knowledge and rune mastery. Rune Mastery gives you the master powers of 1 specific rune, whereas the Rune Knowledge, which you obviously have to take first, gives you the base of 2 different runes.
Yeah, there's nothing like extremely overpowered about those things. The only place that I see my concern is the power creep on those. When you pick a rune, or when you take the feat the first time, you get 2 runes, and you get the base abilities, which can be a bonus to a skill, a bonus to initiative, proficiency, languages. There might be an instance of expertise. I'm not sure. There's a bunch of them. So like all those things that follow the 5e mechanics, I'm totally cool with, especially since you're using the feat to get it, and so you're going to you're making a sacrifice. So totally cool with that. The actual powers themselves, you can use 1 a day. So that's not going to be too bad unless you take the second feat, and then you use the mastery as well. But again, you're still limited on how much you can use it. So, but I start to see things like, well, this one gives you a plus to a skill, which doesn't happen very often in 5e. Or, the one that gives you a bonus to initiative, I'm like, well, okay, it's only a +1, but then you take alertness, and that's a +6. Combining the 2, and then you're a bard, you're going to get half your proficiency level. Is there another product somewhere else where it adds to it too? So like I kind of look at those kind of things. Sometimes like the thing by itself isn't a big deal.
It's when you do the combination of all the things just because I want to be super uber at the one thing.
And even in that case, and you have to determine whether or not, is that going to be a problem for the game or not? Maybe, maybe not. The assassin who just cherry picks Bard to get Jack of all trades and then goes this route. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. For most of the other races and classes, it's not going to matter that much.
Right.
But when I look at a new product, like that's like my thought pattern of, how does this interact with the game as a whole? And sometimes you just don't know what's going to come out that might change things down the road. So I guess with that, let's kind of delve into here. and get into what you're getting out of this product.
All right. Well, as we said, you get these feats, which gives you these powers from the runes. There are 25 runes to choose from, and each of them does have that breakdown. And some runes abilities are, pretty powerful, and you get less options. While there's some that have very specific, unique instances when those powers are going to come up, and therefore you have more options built within that rune.
Yeah, you also get 5 rune rituals. You're going to get, 33 new spells. And then you get like 2 magic items, 2 monsters, and 2 new conditions.
Right. Now, those rituals, they're only things that you're going to get access to if you've taken the rune that grants you knowledge of that ritual. Now, if you don't want to use this whole PDF whole cloth and import it in your game, but you want to create these rituals and import them into your world, they're not spells, you have to just fulfill the conditions, then that's completely up to you. It's your game. But just having access to those things, I think, is actually really cool. Everybody loves new spells, so getting that breakdown of all these different things, pretty awesome. The monsters are unique and flavorful. One of them we actually get in the Tome of Beasts, so if you've already got that book, you're only getting 1 new monster. And new conditions for GMs is always fun to be able to play. They're really designed for Arctic weather. You got snow blindness and hypothermia, and if you're playing that Arctic game and you want to really punch home those environmental conditions, this is a way to put the hurt on.
This is heavily influenced and reflected by Norse mythology, which makes sense because I believe, the Kobold Press campaign setting is Midgard.
Right.
So, which is also, so a lot of the runes kind of refer to Norse deities. So that there's a lot of that in it. So there's probably a lot of ways that you could use this product in your own game, especially if you're playing like a Viking game. The runes are going to come up really helpful. If you're playing a game where you're, like you said, where you're using a lot of tundra and Arctic scenarios, again, those new conditions might be pretty useful. Now, kind of getting into what you get, most of the runes give you basically access to a spell or something that is equivalent to the spell. Now, the new spells that they offer in this game, I did find some wonkiness in when you expand them using spell slots.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't game shattering or anything like that. If we were doing a good, bad, and ugly, it wouldn't be bad. It would be just ugly.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's increase the spell slot you use, and it extends the duration. We've seen that in 5e plenty enough, but it's extends the duration in a way that we don't generally see in 5e, or if we have, it's really rare, and they use it often in here. Because generally it's now it lasts 8 hours, or it lasts 24 hours, depending on the slot you use. And here, for each spell slot you use, increase the duration by 10 minutes, or a minute, or something along those lines. As well as there's some areas where what it'll do is, instead of that, it increases the range or the distance. Add 5 feet for every spell slot you use, which, for one, it's probably not really worth it for a lot of them. And other ones, I was just this feels like it would have made more sense if it was more like invisibility or some of the other spells where you just got to affect more targets. So I found that a little odd.
I found the spell Prismatic Ray a bit wonky as well. And a critical hit, instead of doing its usual double damage, it's no, you just get to choose which of the rays you're going to actually deal with. And it doesn't deal a set amount of damage. It deals damage based on caster level, which is a 3rd edition throwback.
It is. It should, in my opinion, that's one of the ones I would have probably brought up as well, is it should be a set amount of damage. And that being said, if you're going to make them roll to hit, and having the critical where you pick, I would just say it'd have been more fun to just say roll twice or something on the table and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely go with that. But anytime you have the attack roll scenario, people when they roll that natural 20, they want the double damage. They want the crit.
Yeah,
And to just be like, well, instead of randomly getting the thing, you can pick which one you want. I just wasn't thrilled with that one. Whole cloth. I love what's packaged here, so I'm not saying that my hatred for this one spell makes me want to throw it all. I like a lot of stuff. I feel that there's a lot of awesome DM options that are open.
there's kind of another problem with it as well. You also have to make a saving. There's also a saving throw when you hit.
Yes.
Generally in 5e, it's one or the other. It's not both. So that you're kind of paying a tax for using that spell. That being said, I like the fact that when we have a problem with something in this product, it's because it's a little weaker, and it's a little suboptimal option, and it's not overpowered. So if you're gonna side, if you're gonna err, I'd rather see it or to see you err on the side of caution. So I like that kind of part.
So like you could literally take that spell and just remove the whole idea of an attack roll. You launch this thing. You roll to see which of the things you're going to use, and then they make the saving throw based on whatever effect that Dex, Wisdom, or Con, based on what options, whether you're doing cold damage, fire damage, whatever.
So Rain of Blades is another really fun spell. And this is like you just pick, I believe it's like 6 5-foot squares, and they have to be touching each other. But it just rains bladed weapons of various types in that area. Most of them get broken, but not all. And if you use a higher level slot, then they're magic weapons that fall from the sky. They go away after a certain amount of time, but they just do a bunch of damage, and it's just kind of cool. And like to me, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like if your party has been taken prisoners and they have no weapons, but the wizard knows the spell, and he just does rain of blades on your enemies, and then the party runs and they all grab weapons, and now they're armed. So like thematically, I thought that was kind of cool. There was one that I was like, who would ever take this one? But as a DM, it'd be kind of fun to use it against your players. And it's something like Freeze Potion.
Oh yes.
So, like, as a reaction, you cast a spell, and so when you see someone going to drink a potion, you freeze it, so now they can't drink it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's hilarious that you just kind of deny them the use of the potion.
I think sometimes, depending upon who is the DM and how things are going, that situation might come up. Other times, I think people write products, and it's like, well, anybody can use this, but it's designed as this is a spell a GM is going to use.
Maybe I don't know. Like I don't know what caster goes. Yeah, you know what? I might just need to freeze a potion today, and we'd have that one prepared. It's just odd, but I just thought it was funny, and it amused me. And again, speaking of the spells, there's spells for all the classes have spells that they're going to get added to their spell list, so that's kind of cool.
Lot of cool stuff here. I think there's just as much, in here, if not more, that I would want to use as a GM than things that I think players are going to be itching to get their hands on. That being said, my character in Dave's game that's all about languages and skills and magic. For him, I would see no problem saying, "Oh, well, can I take the base rune power? I'll take the two things that give me access to a language. I'll have some cool and unique features." It's not as good as a stat bump for the cleric, but he hasn't taken a stat bump yet. So why change it now?
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as good as a lot of the feats that are in the player's handbook. But it's definitely better than some. So, there's that. And, actually taking both, taking up the feat tree, that it's really expensive for what you get. So that would be a hard choice. But I mean, if you really want to invest your character into using runes, I could definitely see this. And I also feel like these would be pretty thematic, especially for like a diviner.
Mm-hmm.
And if your diviner maybe uses rune stones for a lot of things, and that's how he does his divinations.
Now, one of the other cool things that you could do with this is this would be a thing that would be a great story reward. So if you got access to the first feat, rune knowledge for free, perhaps you could have them pick, or you get some, you get all the things put in a bag randomly, and each player gets to choose two. And it's as if the rune caster that they've met is literally bestowing two runes on a player, and then now you've got these things. It doesn't cost you anything, and if you want to actually go with the mastery, you can with an actual feat later on. I think that would be a great way to use this product.
Yeah, absolutely. Or runic tattoos that or rune marking an item that they get to carry. So there's definitely a lot of ways that you can incorporate this as a GM. Maybe it's just going to give you a lot of ideas. The monsters they talk about here are pretty cool as well. They're very thematic. There's a lot of good things in this product. It's 24 pages, and just to kind of recap, 2 feats, which is a feat tree essentially. So if you hate them, you're going to hate that. You have 25 runes, 5 rune rituals, 33 new spells, 2 new conditions, 2 new magic items, and 2 new monsters.
All for the low price over on Drive-Thru RPG of $2.99.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description, so if you guys want to check it out, you can. If you're already using the product, how about you let us know what you think of it? We got a place for it down in the comments below while you're at it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check out the store over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.